Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Unitarian Universalist Church West. Welcome to a community of kind, curious, justice-loving people who are diverse in identity and beliefs. I am the Reverend Denise Cawley, co-minister of this wonderful congregation, and my pronouns are she and her.
And I'm Ahmad Perry, representing your Board of Trustees this morning. The pronouns I use are he and him, and I'm also glad to greet you today.
If you are new to Unitarianism or UU Church West and you're here in person, I hope you'll come and talk to Ahmad after the service and ask him about the important work of the board and what they're focusing on lately. I will be available at the east entrance area along with my co-minister, Reverend Suzelle Lynch, and we will love to have you come by and say hello. If you are new here and joining us online, and in fact, even if you are here in person, we invite you to reach out just a little bit further and send a message to visitor@uucw.org. We'd love to be in touch and get to know you. Feel free to send us a line if you think you haven't heard from us, and let us know what you are interested in.
I'd like to take a few moments now to call your attention to our COVID-19 safety guidelines in your order of service. They're on the second page, and there are 16 of them. That may seem a lot, but given the rapid spread of Omicron variant right now, every one of them is important. Following these guidelines is what allows us to have our worship service in person. We are grateful to all of you for taking these guidelines seriously.
Thank you, Ahmad, and thank you all for all you bring to this church. And once again, welcome. We are so glad to be here with you. Please join me now in speaking the words for our chalice lighting. They are printed in your order of service. Please read the words with me at the same time in unison, and then I will light the chalice. In the midst of life's blessings and struggles, we light this flame to remind ourselves that joy is within us, waiting for our heart's door to open so that it may fly free. May we have the courage to open to joy. May we have the curiosity to follow its flight and prepare it room in our souls.
Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of the hope within. Now let us sing, sing, sing. Now let us sing, sing, sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of the love within. Now let us sing to the power of the joy within. Now let us sing to the power of the joy within. Lift up your voice, lift up your voice, be not afraid. Let us sing to the power of the joy within.
Oh, was it my turn already? Sorry. I must have fallen back asleep. I've been having a hard time sleeping well lately, but with this special pillow, it's easy. Do you have one of these? A pillow that helps you rest? Mine has this great hole right in the middle that fits my head and neck so well. And I'm sure you know, like I do, how important it is that we get rest regularly to keep up our energy, to rebuild the muscles that we use each day, and even to help our brain make sense out of what we've learned that day. Now, the same can be said for our spirit. It needs some downtime too to stay fresh and rejuvenated. But I am getting ahead of myself. Good morning. I'm Dave Cicero, Director of Lifespan Religious Education at UU Church West, and my pronouns are he and his. Today, I actually thought I'd share with you a story I found in this book here called 100 Wisdom Stories from Around the World. And the story is called 3 Sabbaths. It's by William White. In a small village, 3 friends, a Muslim, a Jew, and a Christian, farmed on adjoining land. The Muslim observed Friday as the Sabbath. The Jew observed Saturday, and the Christian observed the Sabbath on Sunday. Now, one Friday in autumn, around noon, the Jew and the Christian finished plowing their fields. And as she sat eating her lunch, the Christian noticed that the field of her Muslim friend was not yet plowed. She thought, I think it's supposed to rain tomorrow. If he doesn't plow it today, he's not going to be able to complete his planting. I could plow a bit of his field and make his work easier. So she did. Now, in the field on the other side, her Jewish companion came upon the identical plan. And without consulting each other, the 2 farmers completed their neighbor's plowing. The next day, when the Muslim discovered that his field had been plowed, he rejoiced, saying, "Surely Allah has sent his angels to plow my field while I observed his day of rest." Months later, when harvest season arrived, the fields of the 3 friends flourished. One Sunday, the Jew and the Muslim were harvesting their crop, while their Christian sister celebrated the Sabbath. As he completed harvesting his corn, the Jew noticed the field of his Christian friend was ready to harvest. If she does not harvest today, she could lose part of her crop to the deer and the birds, he thought. I'll pick her corn until it becomes dark. And so he did. Now, completely unknown to him, his Muslim brother came to the same conclusion, and between them, they harvested their friend's entire field. On Monday, when the Christian came out to the field, she discovered her entire crop had been harvested. It's a miracle, she thought. While I rested, God's angels harvested. Now, during the threshing season, the Muslim and the Christian were working on a Saturday, which is when their Jewish friend stayed at home, keeping the Sabbath holy. As he finished threshing his grain, the Muslim looked to the next field and thought, my Jewish neighbor might not be able to gather his grain today, and the rain might wash it away, and he's going to lose his crop. I will thresh part of his crop this afternoon, and did. Unknown to him, His Christian friend decided upon the same course of action. Separately, the two farmers threshed, bound, and covered the entire crop. When his Sabbath was over, the Jewish farmer discovered the grain was already threshed. Lifting his eyes to heaven, he prayed, "Blessed are you, Lord of the universe, for sending your angels while I was keeping your Sabbath." That is the end. Wasn't it great that the three friends had each other and could respect that they each followed different customs? Kind of like how we all use a different kind of a pillow, the one that's most comfortable for us, right? Now, in the story, each farmer observed a different Sabbath or day away from their regular work to honor their version of the holy or the divine. But because each farmer, while doing their own work generously, chose to help the one farmer observing the Sabbath, no one lost any of their harvest. What did you notice or wonder about the story? I'm always curious about what other people choose to do with their not work time. What is it that re-energizes you? And have you been giving yourself that gift lately? I know I need to focus on recognizing and celebrating what other people in my life are doing. That renews my spirit. In fact, I'm doing that today, which is part of the reason why you're watching me on video right now. But my wish for you is that you honor yourself all year long by taking the time out to do that thing that brings you fulfillment and joy.
Don't you just love Dave? What a wonderful story. It's one of those that plants seeds of wisdom in all of our minds and hearts. So with this end of worship for all ages, we know that some parents of children who are downstairs will be coming to join us in just a moment. So hum along with me as we go. As we go, you go, joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Know our love is with you always. As you go, as you go, as you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Know our love is with you always. As you go, as you go.
I'm super excited to share this reading with you. Our reading comes from Atlantic Magazine's interview with Tricia Hersey, who's now Reverend Tricia Hersey, artist, Afrofuturist, womanist, and Black liberation theologian, and founder of the NAP Ministry. The NAP Ministry she was working on when I was in seminary, different schools, but we were all like starting to see it bubble up. It was very, very exciting to see this thing kind of explode. So, the NAP Ministry is an organization that examines the liberating power of rest. We name sleep deprivation as a racial and social justice issue. This project came out of my own experiences, she said, with exhaustion. When I first started thinking about this, I had started seminary. I had an 8 o'clock class. I'd be there by 6 in the morning, and then I wouldn't come home until midnight sometimes. I would be up until 3 in the morning studying. That was hard. And I was robbed while I was walking home from school with my 6-year-old son one day. 2 of my family members died suddenly. And then right at that moment, Black Lives Matter was really heating up. And I was a community organizer and justice leader. I was dealing with being pulled to the front lines while I was still in school. And I was traumatized by constantly seeing all of the murders that were happening. It was a lot of strife, and I was at a predominantly white institution where there weren't that many people who looked like me. The stress of all that combined with trying to go through a really intense high-level graduate program, I couldn't take it. I started sleeping all over campus. I was everywhere. And I started to think about collective napping and public napping. With the NAP Ministry all over the country, we curate spaces for the community to rest in a safe place. There's a stigma around caring for yourself, unless it's attached to capitalism. You can pay $200 for a facial and then you're taking care of yourself. But if you're caring for yourself with something as deep as sleep, which is one of our most ancient and primal needs, and if you're doing that caring in public, caring for your body, well, that's shameful. I tie that back to capitalism and white supremacy, she says, and these notions around not seeing humans as divine and not seeing our bodies as belonging to us. I'm trying to deprogram people around the concept that if you aren't doing something in that classic sense, then you are not worthy. I want to uplift that when you are sleeping, you are doing something. I'm going to say it again because it's so good. I want to uplift that when you are sleeping, you are doing something. You are honoring your body. You are giving your brain a moment to download new information. You are disrupting toxic systems by reclaiming rest. Rest is a form of resistance because it disrupts and pushes back against capitalism and white supremacy. Reimagine rest to be a slowing down, a mindfulness, a paying attention. I believe taking moments of silence is a form of rest. Taking a longer shower, praying, meditation, daydreaming, giving yourself 10 minutes of intentional time listening to your body. The time to rest is now, because it's not a privilege, it's our right. It's a human right.
Thank you, Rev Denise. Nicely done. When I was growing up, my family and I went to our Unitarian Universalist church nearly every Sunday, and I never really asked my parents why we went. Tops on my list was seeing my best friend Joanne Yoshimini, who I rarely saw any other time because she lived in the town where our church was, which was not where we lived. I suspect that my parents went to that church week after week for the same reasons a lot of us come here. We like the people, we enjoy the spirit of camaraderie and the shared values. Some of us who have kids come because we want that good religious education for our children. Many of us find food for thought here that we like. And of course, we enjoy the music. But it always seemed to me like there had to be something else. Some other reason my parents were taking us to church so regularly. A reason harder to pin down, but no less central. And as it turns out, there was. My parents were there to enjoy, to experience, and enjoy the joy of Sabbathing. What is Sabbathing, you might ask? Well, a few years ago, I attended a retreat at the Siena Center in Racine to find out. It was led by a gentleman named Wayne Mueller, who is a minister and a therapist, and the author of a whole bunch of great books, including one called Sabbath, Finding Rest, Renewal, and Delight in Our Busy Lives. The retreat was designed to help us understand why we're so stressed and so tired, even amid a plethora of digital tools that are supposed to make our lives easier and more fun. On the first day of the retreat, Wayne Mueller told us the creation story from the Bible's book of Genesis. He said, "We know the story. God creates the world in 6 days, and on the seventh day, God rests, right? But, a closer reading of the text reveals that the Sabbath isn't just a day off. It says, on the seventh day, God finished God's work. God completed God's work." Mueller went on to tell us that the ancient rabbis taught that what God created on that seventh day was something called menucha. And menucha is a Hebrew word that translates as serenity, tranquility, peace, and repose. Menucha was more than resting. It was a fertile, healing stillness. It was the time when God paused and stepped back and fully regarded the creation with eyes of joy and appreciation. And then God did something new, something radical. God said that this time, this menucha, was holy. It's the first time anything in the Bible is called holy. It's kind of an amazing thought that time for joyful rest, appreciation, and healing is sacred or holy. That's what Bishop Tricia Hersey of the Nap Ministry is talking about when she says we must reclaim the divinity of our bodies and take the rest that is our human right, not a privilege granted by capitalism, but a human right. Sabbath keeping is an old tradition. As a spiritual discipline that originated with the ancestors of our Jewish members and friends and neighbors, the Sabbath was and still is a day set apart for Torah study, for religious community, for family togetherness, for rest and conversation and enjoyment of good food and other sensual delights. It was a commandment in the Torah's book of Exodus, but also in the book of Deuteronomy. And in Deuteronomy, the Sabbath is a symbol of freedom, reminding the Jewish people that when they were slaves in Egypt, they didn't have a choice about working without ceasing, but as free people, they can honor that holy time. So I love the idea of taking a full day every week to rest my body and mind and revel in the sacredness of time. But I also have to admit that I get kind of nervous about that. If I really take a full day off, how will I possibly get everything done that needs doing in my life? How, indeed, will we get it all done? Marva Dawn is a theologian, and she's the author of another good book on the Sabbath called Keeping the Sabbath Holy, and not H-O-L-Y, but W-H-O-L-L-Y. She recounts the story of a pioneer wagon train in the mid-1800s going from St. Louis to Oregon. This was a group of devout Christians, and it was their practice to rest every seventh day on their journey. However, winter was drawing in, and they started to get anxious, and some folks proposed dropping the Sabbath discipline to make sure they got to their destination before the snows came. After a lot of discussion, they could not agree, and so the group divided into two parts. And one would journey on without the weekly pause, and the other one would continue keeping the seventh day as a Sabbath. Who do you think got to Oregon first? Right, it was the group that took a Sabbath. During our retreat, Wayne Mueller sent us outside to take what he called a Sabbath walk. We were to take 20 minutes and walk slowly, mindfully, feeling our feet on the earth, letting ourselves be drawn in whatever direction felt right. So let me confess, this was difficult for me. I love to walk, but I like to go fast, and I like to have a definite destination. But I can follow instructions. Really, I can. So I made myself slow down, walking quietly, slowly. And suddenly, in the quiet of the walk, terrible voices of judgment rose up. Just look at yourself, Suzelle. What are you doing? You look like an idiot. And then the voices went on, oh my God, look at that woman over there. She's kissing a tree. Unbelievable. Wait, stop. Don't go over there. Those people will think you're following them. Don't go there. This nasty, relentless mental chatter was a terrible surprise. Who knew that all of that was going on inside my mind? It was disturbing enough to make me think about giving up the Sabbath walk, but I decided I needed to follow instructions. I was there to learn. So I kept taking slow steps, breathing in, breathing out, more slow steps, conscious of my feet and my breath, and the voices eventually fell silent. And in the midst of the bare trees and the wet grass and the pale winter sunshine, a liberating spaciousness began to emerge. There I was, with 30 fellow strangers, on a journey that had begun to feel just a little bit beautiful. There was a bell, like the one we use when we begin our services, to call us back to the retreat room. And once we were seated, Wayne Mueller told us a story. He said, when I was a boy, I learned to skip stones across a lake. If I threw the stone fast and spun it just right, it would skip clear across to the other side. But if I threw it too slowly, it would hit the water and sink, disappearing immediately. What he was telling us that it may not be our fear of not getting our work done that keeps us skimming along the surface. Our commitment to perpetual motion and perpetual striving might be a cover for our fear of what we might find if we let ourselves sink into the deep waters. In his Sabbath book, Wayne Mueller speaks of a woman named Elaine, whom he worked with as a spiritual director. She was a respected therapist who had struggled and grown and overcome a lot of sorrow from abuse in her childhood. She was really proud of her accomplishments and her practice. She was very busy, but there was this persistent nagging emptiness that led her to seek Mueller's guidance. He wrote, "For some people, emptiness feels fertile and spacious and alive with possibility, but others feel emptiness as an ache, as a void, something painful, something desperately in need of being filled." For Elaine, the emptiness was a wound, a potent unworthiness. She feared that if she slowed down, the silence would be consuming, all-consuming, like a monster. Mueller also told us the story of a doctor who took him aside at a retreat and confessed that for him and for many of his colleagues, part of their rush and hurry is because they're so close to so much suffering and loss. He identified their unspoken fear. If they stop, even for a moment, the sheer enormity of sorrow and the ethical uncertainty that's always present in human medical science, they fear that if they stop, even for a moment, this will overwhelm them. Imagine just how much heavier that burden is in these times of COVID. Mueller says, if we're terrified of what we'll find in rest, we will refuse to look up from our work, refuse to stop moving. We quickly fill in all the blanks on our calendar with tasks and errands and things to be done. But this emptiness has nothing at all to do with our value or our worth. All life has emptiness at its core. Emptiness is the quiet, hollow reed through which the wind of the Spirit blows and makes the music that is our life. Without that emptiness, he says, we are clogged and unable to give birth to music, to love, or kindness. All creation springs from emptiness. Sabbath, then, is a spiritual practice. It's one thing to declare, time out, I need a break. Many of us have no problem doing this. But it's something else to enter intentionally into a particular time and place so that our minds and hearts can regather their strength. That's an act of resistance. Because when we allow ourselves the practice of Sabbathing, whether it's a full day away from our usual responsibilities or simply a chance to take 10 minutes in the morning to breathe and reflect before we plunge into our day, when we allow ourselves the practice of Sabbathing, we begin to break the spell that heteronormative, patriarchal, white supremacist capitalism has on our lives. That was a mouthful, right? Let me say it again. When we allow ourselves to practice Sabbath, even in small ways like taking a nap, we begin to break the spell that heteronormative, patriarchal, white supremacist capitalism has on our lives. My colleague Marilyn Sewell called this to her colleague's attention in a funny way in a sermon once. She said, it's ironic that God gives us a gift, a day of rest, and then has to make it a commandment so we'll take it seriously. She said, I guess human beings have always had a problem with resting. But really, she says, it goes deeper than that. We are reluctant to make space for the holy in our lives. She says, undoubtedly, this is the commandment that most of us break most often. In fact, we even plan to break it. We get out our list for Sunday. I'll fix this, I'll shop for that, I'll finish that report. Can you imagine, she says, planning to break any of the other commandments? You wake up in the morning and you say to yourself, gee, I think I'll steal something today. Maybe I'll tell some lies today. Or maybe I'll just covet my neighbor's wife today. Marilyn asks, is there any other commandment that we break and then feel virtuous about it? Really? Is there? Marilyn's right. We are reluctant to make space for the holy in our lives. What does that mean? Yes, it means refusing to see that there's something more universal and important than being in control. But even more so, it means that we are reluctant to remember that we are connected to something holier and more whole than the demands of capitalism. We are connected to the holy wholeness that is the interdependent living system of every other human being on this planet. The practice of Sabbath calls us to the work of community, of relationship with all those human beings, especially the ones whom our culture marginalizes, devalues, and demands extra work from to merely survive. Sabbathing isn't only about granting ourselves time to rest, to reflect, to enjoy, and be in community together. Yes, those things are important, but especially, those things are important, especially for those of us who have, okay, wait a second here, let me go back. Sabbathing isn't only about that, but especially for those of us who have identity-based power. It's about remembering those who are marginalized to the point that they cannot rest, and recalling that we who have identity-based power can use it to change underlying systems that deny the divinity of all of us and strip dignity from so many of us. If we never rest, we'll never see the cage that we and our human siblings are in, or learn how to take down the bars of that cage. During the time when the Jewish people were in exile, the Sabbath was a way to hold on to their faith. Sabbathing kept them strong when foreign kings were trying to force them to give up their religion, and it held their identity when the Holy Temple was destroyed. Today, Sabbath provides us with the opportunity to affirm and reaffirm what we will embrace, what we will allow to shape and mold who we are at the deepest level. It offers the opportunity to live life differently, not for the sake of being different, but for the sake of really being faithful every day to the values we hold most dear. I encourage you to take Sabbath time. Wayne Mueller says, go ahead and start small. Begin your practice with 30 seconds of deep breathing, even. It's amazing what that can do to break the heteronormative, patriarchal, white supremacist, capitalist cycle of rush, 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 work, work, work. Truly. Take an hour, or even half an hour, to go somewhere away from whatever your work is, including just your chores at home. Time to take a walk with no purpose but the delight of moving your feet or rolling your wheels and sniffing the winter air. Let delight be your guide for the Sabbath. Art, singing, swaying to music, sitting by a window, mindfully enjoying every bite of a juicy, crisp apple. Remember the creative act of mindful appreciation and pausing that meant creation was complete. Menucha. And please make your time here at church Sabbath time. Time to be liberated from rushing, time to engage with community, time for the deep peace and reflection that lead us back to connection with ourselves and with others, and to the action that can heal the hurts of our world. Time to be aware of life's brokenness and its profound truths and the beauty of the creation that you are. Shalom, blessed be, Ashe, and Amen. So I invite you into a moment of Sabbathing now. A moment of meditation and prayer with words from a colleague, the Reverend Judith Quarles. She says, "How shall we pray?" First, let us be open to quiet. Let us hear and let go of the sounds in this room, the noises outside, the sounds that surround us. Let us begin to hear the soft beating of our hearts and listen intently for messages from within. Next, let us feel gratitude for our lives and for the beautiful earth. As hard as life gets, as sad or lonely as we sometimes feel, let us always be warmed by the gifts of living. And let us hold in our hearts all those known or unknown who are in need. May we find in ourselves the energy and knowledge to care and to act. And finally, let us remember love and community and the way they work wonders that we could never do alone. Let us be aware of the blessing that it is not ours alone to do the work of the world. We have one another. As we return from the quiet to the community that surrounds us, may we hold on to our heartbeats, to the gifts of this good earth and good life, to the knowledge that we can act to care for others, and the knowledge that we are not alone. Shalom, blessed be, Ashe, and Amen.
and fever of the day. Let there be moments when we turn away, and deaf to all confusing outer din, intently listen for the voice within. In quietness and solitude we find the soundless wisdom of the deeper mind. With clear, harmonious purpose, let us then bring richer meaning to the world again.
UU Church West's Split the Plate program is one of outreach and generosity. Each month, we give half of all undesignated offerings to a nonprofit organization to help us live our UU values and serve our community. Our Split the Plate partner for December is Islands of Brilliance. Islands of Brilliance is a neurodiverse talent incubator offering a variety of workshops for students at different ability levels due to their place on the autism spectrum. These workshops focus on social, emotional, and vocational skills. A big component is the one-on-one mentoring of students by professionals in different fields, as well as prospective employers. The traditional supports in place for the neurodiverse community can often marginalize this population. Many do not feel empowered and are therefore not fully engaged in their work. Islands of Brilliance has a unique student-centered approach that helps shift to more positive perceptions of self and helps students see more of their capabilities. They gain both technical and personal skills to move into their future of independence and employment. To support Islands of Brilliance, go to UUCW.org and click on the Donate tab, selecting Split the Plate, or you can text or mail your donation today using the information found here.
Thank you all. It doesn't sound like, okay, I got to be really close. We have a few reminders. This week, Tuesday, winter solstice here, 7 p.m. Yes, it will be really fun and wonderful. Christmas Eve service here, 4 p.m. It'll be wonderful. Sunday, December 26th, we're having a really cool service. I don't know if all of you know what the CLF is. It stands for what?
Church of the Larger Fellowship.
That's right, I knew that. Church of the Larger Fellowship is and has always been like a online. In the old days, it was a mail version of, as in not M-A-L-E, M-A-I-L, correspondence church almost. Okay, it's technically our largest congregation in all of Unitarian Universalist land, and they have some really cool ministries. And they have many ministries. They do a weekly TV show you can watch on Thursday mornings online. They have podcasts, all kinds of stuff. And they have this big thing that's a prison ministry program, because that works really well with how they came out of mailing things and stuff. So we're having them do a whole service for us from the prison ministry. Even the music and all the speakers and stuff will all come from their incarcerated membership. And we're going to learn about becoming pen pals, too, with their incarcerated members and speak to all of the justice issues around incarceration. So Sunday the 26th, that's the service. But guess what? It's a jammy service. The building will be closed. We'll watch it all. And speaking of watching services, I've had a number of you, and that's you also in the online universe, say to me, well, I missed church, so I didn't see that one. All the services are online. You can go back and watch what you missed. We have a YouTube channel. There's always some on the website. I know nobody's reading their newsletter anymore, but there's always a link right in the top, and it says, watch last week's service. So, and you know what? You don't even have to watch. You could listen, so just offering that. Go back. It's great. So those are all your happy reminders before Suzelle's lovely benediction.
Thank you, Reverend Denise. The microphone died. No, it didn't. Yeah, oh, it's working. It's in the red zone, but it's working. Must be time to go home, right? As we prepare to go forth now in our individual ways, let us take the warmness and wholeness of this community with us. Let us keep that glow of this Sabbath time and remember that our hearts and our longings, our thoughts and the work of our hands can help us move in the world with greater love and greater wholeness. May we keep the Sabbath with and for one another. May we keep the Sabbath to help heal and change our world. Shalom, blessed be, Ashe, and Amen.